Hi everybody, it is me, Wounded Warrior, but I'm here. Yeah, I know I said yesterday there wasn't going to be a video today, but I hauled my carcass down and forced myself to sit. It's a little hard because my knee is all, so if you see me kind of sit weird, it's because my knee is sticking out because it hurts too much to kind of bend it in. Um, yeah, it's also my birthday week. My birthday is on Thursday, and I thought I'd share some of the stuff that I got because this year has sort of been. I was really stoked, and then family nonsense happened that I'm not going to talk about. And so I was like, nope, don't want to deal, don't want to be gritting my teeth at a party. And then I was really bummed. And now I finally, Bobby, don't scratch, Bobby. Thank you. Bobby was scratching the couch. I had to stop him. But then it was like, I actually have friends now that know and understand me. And one got me this cool rabbit shirt. I'm very excited. It's technically a Christmas sweater, but I'm probably going to be wearing it in June and July because I like it so much. Blah, blah, la, la, la. But then I got this Fat Cat Puri sauce that combines two of my favorite things, hot sauce and cats. So, well done. And then I got a Totoro green tea cup and cat bus. I love cat bus. See cat bus? Cat bus. And oh, geez, the person that got me this, I just got this stuff today. It arrived in the box. But my husband surprised me. My friend was up from Vermont. And so we went into one of those anime shops together, and everything was Totoro, and I'm sure she was like, "Oh, don't buy anything," because she was cold as ice. She was cool as a cucumber, man. But yeah, I ended up buying a Stitch flash drive, so dodge that bullet. But yeah, that's not what I want to talk about today. Just during the week, I'm sorry, shifting me. Gonna be showing little things here and there, and I might possibly do a live stream for patrons. I haven't done a live stream in ages, so I thought that might be kind of fun to actually do one just for patrons. There's apparently a video function through Patreon now, so I might try that out. It might be a disaster, but yeah, that's one of the things I'm gonna start doing is live streams for patrons, because I am trying to double my Patreon support this year. Help support this channel, become a monthly patron. Patreon.com, Leanna K. Click the link in the description box below. It is greatly appreciated. It allows me to talk about the thing that I'm going to talk about now, the actual topic of this video, which could get me demonetized. I can never tell anymore. I find the demonetization on YouTube is getting slightly less aggressive, but still every so often it's like, why did you demonetize that? So I want to talk about the gamers are good hashtag, because kind of over the weekend, I sort of pieced together the whole thing, and I have some thoughts that are too long for tweets, so I thought I'd talk about it. And sometimes it helps to talk about this stuff when you have a face and you can sort of see its actual person, not just words on a screen, you know. But I initially, and apparently this was the tweet that started the whole thing, I initially saw this tweet from Mark Kern, who, if you don't know, is one of the developers of Vanilla WoW, the original World of Warcraft back in the day. And he was also active during the whole Gamergate thing. That's important later. That is not important to me. That will also become important later. Mark said, there's an entire generation that has never known the stigma to be a nerd, that computers or games are uncool, and that nobody wanted to learn STEM for fear of being shamed as a geek. To them, it's laughable to think that geeks were ever without power or money or fame, shunned by the entire school and avoided as adults. The idea that playing games is a good way to get bullied is inconceivable to them. I wish it were true, but many of us grew up in that environment that mocked us for liking arcade, science fiction, comic books. We got bullied, stuffed in lockers, given wedgies and swirlies. But we grew up and changed the world and invited everyone along. We didn't care about your skin color or your gender or your disability. We just wanted friends to share all our cool ideas and gadgets. For those same geeks and gamers to now stand at the forefront of accusations of bigotry is painful to watch. We were ready to take in anyone and still are. It's an unjust accusation forwarded by the same bullies that now envy the geeks. The stigma is just the same, just the words have changed. Being tech technical and or geeky with complex game rules isn't lame and uncool anymore. It's gatekeeping. Making a game difficult is exclusionary. Geeks and gamers are still under attack. But instead of the punishment being shunning and isolation, the new bullies want the power, wealth, and status that our geekiness earned while they laughed. That time when gamers were considered uncool was not long ago. I remember at Blizzard how we marveled that StarCraft was now considered a cool thing in Korean schools, that even school popularity was boosted by your BattleNet rank. Unheard of, we felt. So that was something I really related to. You see, I hit the little like button because, you know, I started gaming in 1981. It was a weird thing. It is still, among certain groups, a weird thing, especially for a woman to do. I've joked around about this before, that I'll go to like showers or, you know, wedding things, girl things, spa days. You can see how much I love this stuff, right? But everybody's like, oh, I'm a teacher. Oh, I'm an ECE. Oh, I'm this. Oh, I'm that. And it's like, I do YouTube videos about video games. I find a different spin on it, but that's basically what I say. And they're like, you know, they make that same face. You know, when a cat gets a smell, it's like, cats get that smell. That's what, oh, my TMJ is way off today. I just noticed that. You know, it's that they don't know what to do. And the conversation stops dead. There are still areas of the you know, North America where it's still strange to like computers, especially if you're female. And, but it's true that it's much easier, at least in schools. It's more encouraged, but I mean, man, I was in the gifted program in grades 3 and 4, and part of the reason I got out of it is because the isolation, the bullying was so bad. I mean, we were, it wasn't a whole school of gifted kids, you know, it wasn't like Hogwarts or anything like that. It was a couple of classes within another school. They thought that was better integration. We had to like do recess in packs so the other kids wouldn't pick on us. It was that bad. I mean, you got tough, right? And I think that might be part of where I sort of learned to, or maybe I've always been like this, but I remember then that we were really sort of, you were one of the freaks, and you may not necessarily have liked one of the other freaks, but if that other freak was in trouble, you helped them, because we were all kind of freaks together, and the only way we could, you know, it's like that South Park thing with the 6th graders in the Fractured But Whole. You know, the only way to kind of fend off the 6th graders was we had all these things that we do to sort of freak the mundanes. Like, we'd spend entire recesses, we'd go out to the bleachers by the baseball diamond, and we'd just hang upside down. And people would come, and they're like, what are you doing? And we just hang upside down. We wouldn't say anything to them. It was like, you know, gravity boot guarded Buckingham Palace kind of thing. And we just sit there. And then we collected all these little, I don't know what kind of tree they were, but they were little things, and they were a little bit sticky, and they were little darts. So then we'd hang upside down, and when kids came by and stared at us and said nasty shit, we'd whip the like sticky dart things at them. And I mean, they thought we were assholes, but what were they going to do? Like, we were too freaky. They were scared of us. That's how we kind of survived. But it wasn't, you know, my neighborhood was really multicultural. So even the gifted classes were multicultural accordingly. And so this idea that gaming was a white male thing, it's like, what if you like video games, come and play? Because this idea that we would separate on race lines, there weren't enough of us to begin with, you know. And I remember we played the Oregon Trail in school. I think, yeah, that was because we had a computer lab there. I remember we started learning on the little, you know, the little gumdrop Macs, not the iMacs, but the original ones, the one where the screen was this big. It was the coolest freaking thing in the world at the time. Now it's like, oh man, our smartphone screen is bigger than that. But it was like, you know, graphical operating system, like what? Point and click interface? What is this? That was new before that. We had to learn DOS to do anything. To play King's Quest, to play Archon, to play any of those games. Quest for Tires was one game based on the BC comics. That was a surprisingly tough game. Quest for Glory, Mule, anything like that. Even that track and field where you had to smack two buttons. Oh man, more keyboards got broken that way. But you had to actually do the, like at that time, I think it was B:\/ or was it A? The computer actually wouldn't boot unless you put in the disk. It was that old. I know. It just, you got the DOS thing and it went, no disk detected. So you had to put the disk in, and then you actually had to go to the directory and search for the game file you wanted. And then you had to, you had to launch the game, and you actually had to know that stuff. And that most people just went, this is too much to play a game. I don't care. But the people that, like me, that saw this as kind of a secret knock to get into this whole new world, it was a thing. But yeah, it wasn't super accepted right away. It wasn't really until, trying to think. I mean, yeah, the Nintendo really changed. There was an Atari, but Atari wasn't really a school thing that I could recall. Like if you played Atari games, it wasn't quite as nerdy because everybody kind of played Pac-Man. They, the little tabletop arcade things. That was one thing. But you always had to sort of duck the teenagers because they were kind of rough. Those teenagers were kind of scary in the arcades. And like imagine like little ginger kid me, like literally look kind of like a South Park character, going in there and like playing with all these like teenagers that are smoking, because you could smoke back in arcades. There were a lot of like stringy mustaches, mullets, and really tight Jordache jeans in those arcades. I can still remember the way they smell. It was like a combination of stale cigarette smoke, French fry grease, and mold. Like the carpets, they attempted to clean the carpets, or maybe not. Maybe they just spilled beer on them. Like now kids wouldn't even be allowed in these places. Back then it was like, whatever. It's an arcade, And I went in there and I played Pac-Man and Missile Command, and and a Chuck E. Cheese opened up. That's why I get so upset about the Nolan Bushnell thing. Like Chuck E. Cheese opened up. What? It was a kid-friendly video game place with some of the coolest freaking video games I had ever seen. Wizard of War. Oh my God. What was the shooting one? Hogan's Alley? That game was badass. And never was really into Duck Hunt because of the Sega Zapper game, Safari Hunt, far superior game. But Wizard of War, Missile Command, my mom liked Centipede. Dig Dug, love the crap out of Dig Dug. But this was unusual back then. We weren't the sports crowd, and I played sports as well. I did track when I was in elementary school. I was actually on the track and field team. Obviously, this was before I hit puberty, because once that happened, no, not running with this going. That ended my track career. But I played basketball. I was a point guard in basketball. And so I did some of that stuff, and I was really involved with dance. But obviously, you go to dance, those girls didn't play video games. It was just, the life was completely segmented, and it really did mess with you, never being able to be 100% yourself wherever you were. And I ended up, gaming became more and more of a solitary thing, that it wasn't, stuff I played with kids. I remember going over, and this idea of, just fourth grade girls and boys going over to a house to play. We were just playing Crystal Castles. Nobody thought anything of it. Nowadays, I guarantee you that would become a euphemism for sex of some kind. Grade 4 is not what grade 4 was back then, and I think we were better for it. But I could reminisce, but I've gone on for 14 minutes. Where is this going? Well, Mark Kern started this gamers are good hashtag. And I was like, this is a great idea. It's positive. We need more positivity. I'm going to participate. And instantly, I started drawing, like you can see, I'll show you proof. You guys like proof that this is actually my second post in it, in the Gamers Are Good thing. I did one before that, but then Mark sent out another thing. But I'm getting ahead of myself there. But I put I put a thing up thinking it was positive. We need more positive. Like, this is a great idea. People started coming at me. Do you know who you're talking to? And everything like that. It's like, and remember I said before that I don't really care if someone was pro Gamergate or anti Gamergate. I don't care about that. I judge people by how they behave with other people. But there's still some hurt feelings, or some people are saying butthurt from that. But I am not going to engage with that. It's whatever. It was 3 years ago. 4 years ago, let it go. So people were like, and I'm like, what? And I kind of talk those people down. And the wedge issue seems to be like trans advocates just jumping all over this, going, do you know what you're doing? This is making things harder, all this stuff. And then earlier today, so yesterday, when you're watching this, somebody basically tried to collective blame me because Mark had put out a tweet, and as I said eventually, that there were some people that Mark included in that tweet I do not get along with. They've done some not nice things to me. But I wasn't going to blame Mark for that. We are capable of being grown-ups, and just, if they don't come at me, I'm not going to come at them. And so I just took the positive spirit of what he did, and this was treated like a bad thing because I wasn't actively condemning the people that I don't like because they did bad things to me. I'm somehow complicit in what they're doing. What my intent really was is that I was not going to derail Mark Kern trying to do a good thing because of my issues with a person he happened to tag. In his position, I would not have tagged that person. I think they're a bad example of people associated with gaming. I think there are much more positive voices. And it was more complicated than that. I'm trying to be simple just so I can kind of get to my point of what did I learn just by watching both sides and listening and being like, wow, these people are really angry, but then trying to figure out why they were angry. And there just seems to be this fundamental disconnect that gamers are basically saying, we're not saying the gaming community is perfect. We're saying we're not bad people. And we're happy to work with you to make better the things that need to be made better. Just stop calling us bad people. And the other side, these trans advocates are basically saying that they have not seen any evidence of this welcoming and inclusive gaming community that they're reading exists. And so they're kind of lashing out because they're hurt and angry. And that's all very valid. The problem I'm seeing is that these particular people, not all trans people, I hate freaking having to do that, but these particular people, they are picking fights instead of listening to understand and reading to understand and stepping back and going, okay, these gamers know what it's like to feel ostracized. I know what it's like to feel ostracized. We have that in common. No, I've had a bad experience and I am going to seek validation for that bad experience by telling someone there. In one case, somebody told me I was being moronic. And I was like, and it's one of those, I know what they're doing. I know where it comes from. I know they're hurt, but I didn't do it. And that's what I'm seeing other gamers say. I was not the one that hurt you. Stop punishing me for something somebody else did. And that is a very, very, very valid thing to ask. The thing that has really struck me is that it essentially seems like everybody involved wants basically the same thing, which is an inclusive gaming community that everyone can be involved with and everyone can feel like they belong in, provided They don't act like asshats and are decent to other people. They want sort of that, some people would call it equality of opportunity. I call it the asshole to awesome ratio. You have to be more awesome than you are an asshole, or people aren't going to want to deal with you. And one conversation that didn't need to break down actually broke down on this point. There's a fundamental disagreement on how to get there. These activists believe that lecturing and shaming people and throwing around words like transphobic and, sorry guys, I got to shift my knee again, and, making the whole community seem horribly toxic. I get why they're doing it. They think that a problem has to be so bad that we have to deal with it right now, and this is a challenging thing. When you're dealing with government, yeah, you have to make everything seem worse. You have to play the numbers game because everybody's coming to a government person with their hand out. But that's precisely the wrong approach if you want to actually get gamers to listen to you. The approach that gets gamers to listen to you, having someone who had to learn this myself, is, hey guys, you don't start lecturing them about broad social issues. You don't start using jargon that just makes people tune out. The best way to approach other gamers is say, look, I'd appreciate it if you didn't do that. My name is, say my name is Claire, not Steve. I don't go by that name anymore. I don't feel like that's me. Just please call me Claire. And if somebody continues to call you Steve, they are an asshole. Stop wasting your time on that asshole. Go play with people who aren't assholes. And I really think that this hashtag is a great way to see the people that actually share a similar mindset to you. Like, okay, you like this game, somebody else likes this game. Whatever else you have different going on in your lives, you have that in common. You like this game. And you can talk to each other about why you like this game. I had this other guy, I'm going to try to avoid details because I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but this guy, needless to say, has a very different worldview than me, comes from a very different place, has some communication challenges that he eventually disclosed to me, and I admit that made it a lot easier. That, okay, you're not just an asshole, you have this condition, so I'm going to read this differently than somebody else, because he can't help it to an extent. But, we're both big fans of the Quest for Glory games. And so we can have a really great conversation about what we love about the Quest for Glory games. And we have that in common, even though we have very different perspectives on other things. I won't even say we disagree, because it's not even about disagreement. It's about a different perspective. We have different perspectives. And it's not a question of agree or disagree, because it doesn't quite go that way. It's just, he has his perspective on the world. I have mine. They're different, right? And sometimes that can get a little uncomfortable for me because of past trauma, past bad experiences. But because I am able to relate to him through a shared love of a game, I can see this person as a human being. And so when we start to wade into those more difficult waters, I can remind myself that this is the same game. This is the same guy. I was just joking around about Domovoy and pizza and Quest for Glory 4, right? This is not a bad person. This person is not my enemy. And it stops things from going way off the rails. And we didn't have that point in common. Yeah, it was quite adversarial because we had no point in common. And I have story after story after story after story of people that don't have the same worldview as me, don't see things the way I do not have the life experience to contextualize some of these kind of modern challenges, these realities of modern life that past generations didn't have to deal with. I was fortunate enough to be active in the HIV/AIDS awareness and gay rights advocacy in the 1990s. It was really different. We could not go in there and yell at people. They would beat us up, you know. We had to take a more positive approach. But you really did find out that, you know, homophobia was a real thing. I saw guys break into sweats when they found out that they were in a room with a gay man. And that's not something they mean to do. That's that's a gut level response. And it took time, and it took just seeing each other as people first. And now, I mean, people just coming into adulthood now, they're like, what? This is something they can't even relate to, the same way they can't relate to this idea that being a computer nerd was ever a shameful thing, right? And so I saw that evolve. And now some of the people who like broke into sweats when they were teenagers, I'm sure now they have a very different attitude towards gay people. Some people who I remember saying homophobic things when I was in school actually eventually came out as gay. They were fighting themselves. And this is what life experience teaches you. And I can see the same thing happening with trans advocacy. I can see it being, you know, this is weird and foreign, and some people think unnatural and unholy now. But as long as we keep talking, and as long as people actually get to know transgender people, not as like a, you know, movie of the week, or this is a thing you must care about to be a good person, and just a person who you can ask questions and talk about their experience and really sort of understand that person as an individual. It's much easier to understand people as an individual. You know, it's like, okay, that person's trans, but they're also a big Destiny fan and they love their Nintendo Switch and they're big into Legend of Zelda. All those are things you can use to understand a person, even if you don't understand that part of the person. That will come. If you can just get comfortable enough having conversations with each other, the understanding comes. You don't need to completely understand another person's story to validate them as a human being. And this backlash to the gamers are good hashtag is not doing that. And this is someone, you know, Mark Kern tried to do a good thing here. Whatever you think about his statements or activities during Gamergate, whatever you think about, if you think he has kind of rose-colored glasses on in gaming, I don't care. It is not relevant to me what you think about those issues. What matters is that people try to recognize he was trying to do a good thing. There was no agenda there but that. I know Mark. I don't know Mark well, but I know him well enough to know that his motivations were very simple on that point. And that's why I wanted to make this video, so I could sort of talk it out. You guys can see, I consider myself quite fortunate that, you know, concepts like I'm trying to figure out, because different people are offended by different words, but the whole trans deal, it's relatively easy for me to understand that. I've known gender dysmorphic, genderqueer, transgender, and non-gender conforming people my entire life. I am gender non-conforming, just mildly on the scale. But there were times when I was in high school I did feel like I should have been born a boy, that I was just too weird to be a woman. No, my path was different. I squared that circle in a different way, but I absolutely understand how it feels to feel that way. Now, if somebody else doesn't relate to that, if they're completely 100% cisgender, that's a hard thing to get your head around. You can't relate to that experience, and it's going to take more communication to really try to find a point of contact where you feel like your outsides don't match your insides. And I think everybody has something where that's kind of there. I know I catch myself with certain things. I have to remember I'm white because I grew up in a black neighborhood, and the slang and the music and all that stuff, that's cultural appropriation now. And I gotta be careful because people who don't know me don't get where I'm coming from that. But that does feel sad and isolating because I can't express my love of something because suddenly I'm racist, even though that's how I grew up. But yeah, it was really something to see. And I just, if you're sitting here going, what do I do? I want to do something. You might not be, so fine, you can turn it off now. I won't be offended. Thanks for watching. But if you're trying to figure out what you can do, what I did, and it seemed to work at least somewhat well, people didn't get their minds changed, but at least they backed off. Like, they stopped attacking people who were trying to just be positive. But I said, like, look, I understand that you're angry. I understand that you've been hurt. Lashing out at other people isn't going to make you feel better. And that worked with some people. I guess just all they wanted was for their pain to be understood. But that requires empathy. And a lot of people said, I don't know how you do it. I can't do it when someone's coming at me like that. And I totally understand. Like, I have had a lot of work on trauma. You guys know, I talk about it a lot. A lot of work got put into me being able to see past that, go for the eyes, boo, like caged, cornered animal feeling. A lot of people aren't there. And I see that in both sides of this thing, that people are just responding to past traumas, and they're not recognizing that person posting in the gamers are good hashtag, or that person kind of shit posting and just being deliberately an idiot. They have no hate in their heart, that they don't actually mean it the way it's coming across. One horrible transgression that I was shared at, how can you associate with this person? It was such a ridiculous misunderstanding, because this person is actually a sex worker. They're in adult film. And so they isolated these tweets of this adult professional calling somebody else a whore, not recognizing that is not an insult within that world, because they're all seen as whores, It's that in-group speech. And I'm like, oh, this is the problem with taking tweets out of context and trying to use them as a gotcha. Other people I know who were singled out, I know they have either profound mental health challenges or a chronic pain conditions. They were just having a bad day. And I'm like, come on. That is not fair to do to somebody, but I can't start there. What I can do is just go, look, I know you're hurting. I know you're angry. I can set an example of not lunging at them too. It feels really weird at first. It feels like you're rolling over and being someone's bitch. And it's funny because the thing that stops me from feeling that way is a dungeon. It was a cellar boss with a demon in the expansion pack for the original Baldur's Gate game. And it was a demon that you couldn't defeat by causing damage. You had to cast healing spells until you basically killed the monster with kindness. And I use that as a metaphor. Like, this isn't weakness. This is smarts. This is strength, because you are never going to achieve your objective, either get out of that damn basement or actually stop some of this stupid fighting and actually turn the temperature down in conversations about games. We're not going to get that by causing damage. All we're doing is causing more wounding. That was me swinging a sword. It may be a little difficult to tell. But you're not going to do that by causing damage. You're going to do that by casting healing spells. It's just one of these unique monsters that you can't take out just by swinging a sword at it. Being productive is not being a pushover, because you can choose after a while, this is going nowhere. I'm not going to talk to this person anymore. I can't expend any more energy. That's totally, you're right. You can set that boundary. And it was kind of funny a couple people, they couldn't be angry anymore, so they didn't know what to do. So like, I'm just going to stop following the hashtag. I don't believe that. I think they're going to be back. But it slowed them down for a second. And at least that was something, if that makes any sense. And that's all I can do. That's what I can contribute. You know, I'm one person at a party. It's one of those big wow raids that you can't do on your own. And you get one guy who goes, Leroy Jenkins, and you just screw it up. You can't win that way. And you have to restart and you have to try again. We have to work as a team here. And I'm not judging you if you're not there. If you're still working on your own stuff, that's totally fair. Just don't respond. Don't engage, because you're just sucking them in. You know, those where you have to fight like your doppelganger, and every time you hit the doppelganger, you get caused damage too. It's one of those fights. So you have to figure out, like, it's usually you have to look at a mirror or find something, or like run through a door, and so they run through a door and get trapped or something like that. It's one of those thinky fights. Use your noodle things. So hopefully that helps, and hopefully that gives people some perspective for what is going on. Because I was like, what? When people started dogpiling me, I was like, what's going on? First of all, do you know me? Do you know this isn't going to work? Secondly, why are you assuming I'm 100% up to date on this? I just saw a tweet. I thought it was a good idea. I did it. It's Twitter. It's a hashtag. I do not invest heavily in these things. Again, I think what Mark Kern tried to do was a really good thing. You don't have to think he's a saint to reward good intent, right? You know, like, people have their opinions. I disagree with those opinions. I think he's actually a pretty good guy. If you actually talk to him, he really does mean really well. He has a unique perspective because of where he is in the industry and some of the things he's worked on. But I believe he is a good person at heart. So that's just me. You don't have to agree. I don't really care. That's my opinion. You're allowed to have your own opinions. That's why they're opinions. They're fun. Remember, I keep saying I'm more interested in why you feel a certain way than what you feel. Your story is important to me. So that's where we're at. Remember, if you like this, Patreon, please. It will help a lot. I hate doing this. Longtime watchers know I hate doing this, but I'm trying to do better. We all have work to do. So thanks for watching. And birthday week continues tomorrow. I don't know how yet. Maybe I'll buy myself a game for my birthday and play it with you guys. Does that sound fun? That might be fun. Okay? Okay. Bye.